If you want to disable a switch on a networks panel, there's only 3 things you need to know. You need to know the card, the switch, and the actual LEDs associated with that switch. Then once you figure that out, you just got to start thinking logically. When I press this switch, what do I want the LEDs to do? What do I want my output actions to do? Now, once you identify this, it should be easy for you to write these rules. So let's jump into the programming so I can show you what to look for. So when you're inside the SDU, this is what a bypass switch potentially would look like. This would be your input side where I have your switch. The label is bypass dash switch. We're going to go to the object so I can show you the labels and everything on it. And on the output side, what are you going to be turning on? You want to turn on the LEDs and you want to disable whatever relays, whatever outputs, whatever action that you do not want to turn on or that you do not want to be enabled. If you're testing or anything like that, you want to label that inside of here. So find those output actions. You go to your object labels or configuration objects and look for your relays. And if you have amplifiers, so you want to look for your amplifiers. So you have these guys here as the label text amp 1 through amp 7. You also have door controls. You want to look for your door controls. You want to look for your fan shutdown relays. You want to look for all of these labeled text so that way you can write them down so you can disable these output actions. And then you got your non-supervised outputs, which is going to be controlling your visual circuits. You want to label those. Your non-supervised alarm outputs, that's going to be supervising your non-supervised audible outputs for your speakers or your horns, whatever it is. You want to make sure you jot down all of your output devices. Then you go inside, if this is a fresh system, you go into configure cabinet, over to modules, and you will go over to the operator layer. Wherever your card that has your LED and switch, you go inside that LRM configuration. You either toggle it on and off, whether it be on or off. You can make it momentary or you can interlock it, meaning when I press it, it's going to stay and I have to press it again to turn it off. So toggle is quick on, quick off. As soon as I release it, it's going to be off. If I press it, it's on. So what you want to do is you want to interlock it. So once you press it, the input statement will stay true. So if you want the input statement to stay true, you interlock. Then you just give it a name. Once you give the LED a name, because there's going to be 2 LEDs associated with the switch. It's going to be a red LED and a green LED. You can do whatever you want with these LEDs. You can name it LED 1, LED 2, disable LED 1, disable LED 2, whatever it is. But you want to label your LEDs and you want to label your switches. So when you write your rules, you know exactly what you're controlling. So once you label your switches, then you label your LEDs. Once you label your switch for the disable, once you label the LEDs associated with that switch for your disable points, it is now time to go to your rules. So once you go over to your rules, very simple. You give it a label as a bypass switch. The input qualifier will be SW or switch. You want to make sure you have your hyphens, or I'm not sure what these are right here, that's inside of the bypass switch. You want to make sure you identify that, and whatever you label your switch, if it's bypass switch or switch 1, switch 2, whatever you labeled your switch, that's what you want to put there. You want to separate your input and output by a colon. Once you separate your input and output by a colon, then next after that, you want to make sure you keep your syntax correct. You want to separate your input and your output with a colon. Once you do that, you can identify as many output actions that you want to either disable, turn on, turn off, whatever it is, but make sure you separate them by a comma, and at the last one, you put a semicolon. So as you see here, we have comma, we have a comma, we have a comma, comma, and then the last one has a semicolon. What we're doing here is we turning on the bypass LED, the first one, and we're going to disable the speakers, we're going to disable the strobe, we're going to disable the door releases, the fans, and we're going to unlatch the fan shutdown button. So that way nothing works, because if we press that button, it's going to actually start turning on relays. We don't want none of that action to happen. But once we do that, we just put a semicolon to end that rule. Once we have that rule in there correctly, and if you have Gen's editor, I don't have Gen's editor as you can see, but if you have Gen's editor, you will know if you're right or wrong. Then you just make it correct from there. From there, you click OK, so that way it can save it. You compile your rules. Make sure you compile all your databases, so that way it can compile your loop controllers, your database cards, your modcoms, whatever's connected to all your cards, and it will also compile the rules to make sure your rules are correct. Now, once you do that, you just go to Tools, Communication, right-click on your SD card, right-click on your CPU, right-click on your database, and download to everybody. All the CPUs, the loop controllers, loop cards, let everybody know that this information had just changed, and we're going to update the whole entire system. So if you have any questions about fire alarm, let's chop it up in the comments. Also, hit the training center where I had advanced programming on many different systems, so that way you can get better at programming, so when you're in the field, you can show off to those senior guys, all right? So I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.